Sir, you need to leave this property immediately.
Excuse me? I live here. This is my home.
I got a call that you're trespassing. You match the description of a suspicious person.
Suspicious? I am the owner. I am the CEO of Nexus Tech.
Homeowner or not, you're leaving. I need to see your ID now.
I'm providing ID.
Officer Mark Reynolds had been with the San Francisco Police Department for 12 years. In those 12 years, he'd accumulated 24 formal complaints. 20 of them involved black people he'd accused of trespassing, loitering, or not belonging at luxury properties in wealthy neighborhoods. A black tech executive entering his penthouse was questioned about unauthorized access. A black woman sitting on the porch of her Victorian home was told she didn't look like she lived there. A black entrepreneur pulling into his driveway was detained for suspicious activity. A black doctor unlocking his mansion was investigated for attempted burglary. A black business owner watering his lawn was handcuffed for trespassing on private property he owned. Every complaint ended the same way: property records confirming ownership, internal review that cleared Reynolds, bias training he attended but dismissed, written warnings that piled up but meant nothing, union protection that blocked any real consequences. One Saturday afternoon in San Francisco, his 12-year pattern of assuming black people didn't belong in luxury properties finally confronted someone who'd built a $200 million startup from scratch, purchased one of the city's most expensive homes with cash, and wasn't going to accept being treated like a criminal on his own estate. That confrontation would end Reynolds' career, cost the city $1 million, and expose a department that had ignored 24 complaints over 12 years. David Morrison, a 47-year-old CEO and tech entrepreneur, was standing in the front garden of his Pacific Heights mansion, pruning roses in his own yard when a police car pulled up and an officer stepped out aggressively. His house deed was inside his 8,000-square-foot home, his driver's license in his study, his name on the mailbox at the wrought iron gate. No crime, no trespassing, no violation, just a CEO tending to his garden on a Saturday afternoon. But Officer Reynolds saw him through a lens so warped by racial assumptions that he couldn't process a black man in front of a $12 million mansion as the legitimate owner. Before we continue, where are you watching from? Hit that subscribe button. These stories expose the truth. San Francisco, California. Pacific Heights, one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in America, with palatial homes, panoramic bay views, and billionaires as neighbors. David's mansion was a stunning Beaux-Arts estate built in 1910, fully restored with sweeping views of the Golden Gate Bridge and Alcatraz. The property featured a private courtyard, professional landscaping, and was valued at $12 million. It was 2:30 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon, temperature 68 degrees, clear skies. The street was quiet with the peaceful atmosphere of extreme wealth. David Morrison had been a tech entrepreneur for 22 years and CEO of Tech Venture Solutions for the past 8 years, a startup he'd founded that developed AI-powered logistics software. He'd graduated from MIT with degrees in computer science and business, worked at major tech companies for a decade, then founded his own company in his garage. He'd grown it from 2 employees to over 500, secured $200 million in venture funding, and the company was now valued at over $800 million ahead of its planned IPO. He'd been featured in Forbes, Fortune, and TechCrunch as one of the most innovative CEOs in Silicon Valley. He earned a 7-figure salary plus equity. He'd purchased his Pacific Heights mansion 3 years ago for $11.5 million in cash after selling some of his company shares. He'd spent another $2 million restoring the historic home to its original grandeur while adding modern amenities. He loved the house, the neighborhood, and the view. He'd never had a problem until today. That afternoon, David was enjoying a rare Saturday off from the demanding schedule of running a startup preparing for an IPO. He'd put on jeans and a casual shirt and gone outside to work in his front garden, something he found relaxing. He was pruning the roses in the courtyard when he heard a car door slam and an aggressive voice. Do you think officers should verify property ownership before confronting homeowners? Drop your answer below. Officer Mark Reynolds had those 24 complaints over 12 years. 20 involved black people at luxury properties, a pattern so undeniable that multiple supervisors had recommended his termination, tech industry leaders had complained about him specifically, and internal affairs had flagged him as a severe liability in wealthy neighborhoods. But the police union had successfully blocked every disciplinary action, arguing that Reynolds was simply protecting valuable properties. His personnel file was thick with complaints from homeowners, tech executives, and community advocates. One internal affairs report specifically noted his pattern of assuming black people in wealthy areas were criminals rather than residents or owners. Yet he remained on patrol because the system protected him. That afternoon, Reynolds was patrolling Pacific Heights when he received a call about suspicious activity. Someone who didn't belong was lurking around a multi-million-dollar property. The caller, a new resident who'd moved in a month ago, reported seeing a black man acting suspiciously in a front yard. Reynolds arrived within minutes and saw David in casual clothes working in the garden of a mansion. "Sir, you need to leave this property immediately." David stood up, startled, garden shears in his hand. "Leave? This is my house. I own it. I received a report about someone trespassing at this residence." David looked at Reynolds in disbelief. "Trespassing? I live here. I'm the owner. I'm working in my own garden. This property is worth millions. I don't think you belong here." David felt anger rising but kept his voice controlled. "You don't think I belong at my own house? I'm David Morrison. I'm the CEO of Tech Venture Solutions. I bought this house 3 years ago for $11.5 million cash. This is my home. Can you prove that? My deed is inside. My driver's license is inside. My mail with my name and this address is inside. I'm standing in my own front yard wearing gardening clothes because I'm gardening at my own house. I need to see identification and proof of ownership before you can enter that house. Everything is inside my house. I came out to prune roses. I didn't bring my wallet to my own garden. Should CEOs be arrested at their own mansions? Let me know what you think." A neighbor walking his dog stopped on the sidewalk. "Officer, that's David. He owns this house. He's the CEO of Tech Venture Solutions. He's lived here for 3 years." Reynolds ignored him. "Sir, step away from the property right now." "Step away from my own property? Officer, I run a company with 500 employees. We're valued at $800 million. I'm about to take my company public. I own this $12 million mansion. You can verify everything with property records. You can call my lawyer. You can ask my neighbors. This is my home." "Sir, final warning. Step away from the gate or you're under arrest." "Under arrest for gardening at my own house?" Reynolds moved toward him. "Turn around and put your hands behind your back." "For what crime? Standing in my own yard." "You're under arrest for trespassing and obstruction. Trespassing on property I own. This is insane." Reynolds grabbed David's wrist and forced his arm behind his back. David didn't resist, but spoke clearly. "I am not resisting. I am David Morrison, CEO of Tech Venture Solutions. I own this property at 2847 Broadway. I purchased it in 2021 for $11.5 million. I'm being arrested in my own front garden. Officer Reynolds is arresting me for being black at my own mansion. I have witnesses." The neighbor with the dog was already on his phone calling other neighbors and David's personal attorney. "Someone call David's assistant. The police are arresting him at his own house." Reynolds handcuffed David, the metal tight on his wrists. He walked him toward his patrol car while David continued speaking. "I'm the CEO of a company preparing for IPO. I own this mansion. Property records are public. My neighbors know me. I've lived here for 3 years. This officer is arresting me for being a black man in Pacific Heights." More neighbors were coming outside now, several recognizing the situation immediately. "That's his house," one shouted. "He's the CEO," another confirmed. "This is outrageous," a third yelled. One neighbor ran inside to call David's company's general counsel. Another was filming the entire incident. Reynolds placed David in the back of his patrol car. Through the window, David could see his mansion, his garden shears on the ground, his front gate standing open, neighbors gathering in shock. He was handcuffed in a police car outside the home he'd bought with his own money after, building a successful company. The humiliation was crushing, but the anger was sharper. The drive to the station took 20 minutes. David spent it thinking about the $11.5 million he'd paid, the $2 million in renovations, the board meeting he had Monday to discuss the IPO, the headlines this would create, the lawsuit he would absolutely file. They arrived at San Francisco PD's Park Station. Reynolds walked him inside, still handcuffed, past a desk sergeant who looked up with concern at seeing a well-dressed, middle-aged man in custody. "Reynolds, what's the situation?" Trespassing suspect from Pacific Heights refused to leave a multi-million-dollar property. The sergeant frowned. "Trespassing where specifically?" 2847 Broadway. He was in the garden with tools. David spoke up, his CEO voice cutting through the room with authority. "Sergeant, I'm David Morrison, CEO of Tech Venture Solutions. That's my house. I own it. I purchased it 3 years ago for $11.5 million cash. I was pruning roses in my own front garden when Officer Reynolds arrested me for trespassing on my own property. Property records will show David Morrison as owner since 2021. My company is about to go public. This is my home." The sergeant's expression changed immediately. "You're David Morrison? Tech Venture Solutions?" "Yes. My company has 500 employees. We're valued at $800 million. We're preparing for IPO next quarter. I own that mansion. I've lived there for 3 years. My neighbors know me. One of them tried to tell Officer Reynolds I own the house. He ignored him." The sergeant looked at Reynolds. "Did you verify property ownership?" He couldn't provide ID. "Because my ID is inside my house. I was in my garden. I don't carry my wallet when I'm pruning roses in my own yard." "Did you check property records? Talk to neighbors? Verify anything?" He looked suspicious at a $12 million property. The sergeant pulled up San Francisco property records on his computer. Within seconds, he found the deed. David Andrew Morrison, owner since March 2021, purchase price $11.5 million. He also pulled up a recent Forbes article about David's company preparing for IPO. He turned to Reynolds with fury. "He owns the mansion. He's exactly who he says he is. He's a CEO. You arrested a tech CEO in his own garden." Within minutes, a commander arrived, Captain Lisa Chen, a 23-year veteran who'd been tracking Reynolds' complaints and trying to get him removed. She listened to the situation, called the neighbors who'd witnessed the arrest, pulled up David's extensive public profile online, and confirmed the property records. She approached David, still handcuffed. "Mr. Morrison, this arrest was completely unjustified. You're being released immediately with our profound apologies. This should never have happened." She turned to Reynolds with barely controlled rage. "You arrested a CEO at his own mansion for gardening in his own yard. Property records show 3 years of ownership. Neighbors confirmed it. He's a public figure. You had 0 probable cause. Badge and weapon. You're suspended pending termination." Reynolds protested. "Captain, I was responding to a trespassing call." "You arrested a man in his own garden at a house he paid $11.5 million cash for. You didn't verify ownership. You ignored neighbors. You've generated 24 complaints in 12 years, 20 involving black people at luxury properties. Your career is over. Badge, weapon, now." By that evening, the story had exploded. Tech Venture Solutions Board issued a statement supporting David. The tech community rallied with tweets from prominent CEOs condemning the arrest. Forbes, TechCrunch, and Bloomberg covered it. Video from neighbors went viral showing a CEO being arrested while gardening. David filed a comprehensive lawsuit 4 months later against Officer Mark Reynolds, his supervisors who'd ignored 24 complaints, and San Francisco PD. The allegations were extensive: false arrest without probable cause on his own property, false imprisonment, trespassing by Reynolds on his property, violation of Fourth Amendment rights, racial profiling and discrimination, violation of property rights, intentional infliction of emotional distress, damage to his reputation as a CEO, deliberate indifference to Reynolds' documented pattern. The complaint included Reynolds' complete record: 24 complaints over 12 years, 20 involving black people at luxury properties, multiple supervisor recommendations for termination blocked by union protection. San Francisco city attorneys found no defensible position. Property records proved 3 years of ownership of a $12 million mansion. Neighbors testified he was a respected member of the community. Video showed him gardening in casual clothes. Reynolds made no attempt to verify ownership. The pattern showed deliberate indifference. The city settled 15 months later. $1 million paid to David Morrison. Officer Mark Reynolds was terminated 7 weeks after the incident. The termination letter was damning. Officer Reynolds arrested a CEO and property owner at his own mansion for working in his own garden. He had no probable cause. He ignored property records, neighbor verification, and the homeowner's detailed explanation. His pattern over 12 years demonstrates an inability to serve without racial bias. Employment terminated immediately. Reynolds' name entered the National Decertification Index. David testified before San Francisco City Council. "I'm a CEO. I built my company from nothing to 500 employees and $800 million in value. I earned the money to buy my home through innovation and hard work. I paid $11.5 million cash for my mansion in Pacific Heights. and I was arrested for pruning roses in my own front garden because Officer Reynolds saw a black man in front of a luxury property and couldn't conceive that I might own it. He paused. 24. Complaints in 12 years. 20 involving black people at luxury properties. That's not protecting property. That's enforcing economic segregation with a badge. Your department documented it. Supervisors recommended termination. The union blocked it. I paid the price, but I had resources to fight back. How many others didn't? He continued. $1 million doesn't undo being handcuffed at my own home while preparing for an IPO. It doesn't erase my neighbors seeing me arrested. It doesn't restore the peace I should feel in the house I worked 22 years to afford. San Francisco PD implemented reforms: mandatory property verification before trespassing arrests, automatic investigation at 3 complaints, body camera review, prohibition on arrests without verified complaints from actual owners. Why do departments wait for 24 complaints instead of 3? Comment your thoughts. This wasn't about one Saturday afternoon. This was about tolerating Mark Reynolds for 12 years despite 24 complaints showing he assumed black people in wealthy neighborhoods were criminals, not residents. Reynolds' career is over. The city paid $1 million. But that came after 12 years of warnings. Comment if property owners should have protection from arrest on their own land. And if these stories matter, hit that subscribe button. This isn't about one officer or one CEO. It's about systems that let bias continue and the right to be safe in the home you earned.